Everyone, welcome back to episode 84 of the Guardian Project podcast. I'm your host, Andy, and FYI, when you cast Invoke the Divine, I do in fact appear before you.
That is very full of yourself of you.
Yeah.
And I'm your other host, Mike Coyle. And you know this new Tybalt Cosmic Imposter?
Yeah.
Low key, best Rakdos commander.
Please listen carefully.
That was clever, because my other intro was going to be, and I'm the other Cosmic Imposter. I'm so glad I didn't use it.
Nice.
Now I should use it next week, and everybody's just going to know it's coming.
I was... Didn't see it coming.
But I already saw it coming. Throwback to last episode.
I honestly didn't even realize that this was episode 84, and I could have easily went 84 tell and put that into the intro.
Oh, that would have been really good too. Missed opportunities.
Oh, well.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all things Magic the Gathering.
But mostly Commander.
So this past week I started to re-sleeve some of my decks,
Mm-hmm.
and I forgot how much work that is.
Well, when you double sleeve everything, yeah.
Yeah, you're doing the action essentially like 300 times.
At least you don't use those like sleeves where it's like you fold it over every single side, like you're doing the Macarena with your cards.
Like you doing what?
The Macarena with your cards.
You're doing the Macarena with your cards.
Yeah.
I've never purchased those sealable double sleeves. I've heard only good things about
for sure.
them, but
A lot of work.
that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been watching a lot of Twitch streams and just sitting there and unsleeving a deck and then putting it in the perfect fit and then sleeving it. And then an hour went by and I was like, I'm not starting another deck tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to do it with all of them.
How many more you have to go?
Like 13?
That's a lot of time to re-sleeve decks.
Yes, it is. So I'm going to try and do maybe like one a day or one a week. It's fine. We'll finish it sometime this year.
Every time you sit down and watch a stream.
When I'm watching a stream, it's fine because they're usually on for a good 2 or 3 hours. And I'm not doing anything other than watching. And then when I find something I want to chat in the stream, I can do that. And it's been really good. But yeah, it's a lot of work. So I was doing that. But I do have spec news, and not spec news, even something where I didn't even realize what I had done until after I had done it. So I wanted a Wheel of Fortune,
Mm-hmm.
and I had been waiting, and I had to go to my LGS to pick up some stuff anyway. And in their case, there was a Wheel of Fortune,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, this is expensive, but I have a feeling so I bought it, right? And then I got home and then I saw a post about Wheel of Fortune's spiking.
Mm-hmm.
And the next day it was, they're like listed at like between $750 and $1,000 online.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not someone who buys the spec. I only spec badly on O Catcher's Last Mercies.
Hey,
But this I did not even realize was happening. Unfortunately, I fell into it with this, and I fell into it with when my Sarah Sanctum, when I just randomly had bought it for an Estrid deck, and then it like shot up. So I felt very lucky, but I'm not someone who follows finance a ton. I mean, when I open cards, I'll sell them, or if I realize it's really good, it's like, if I'm not using it because it's a modern staple or what have you,
right,
I get rid of it. But I feel real lucky right now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're starting to get to that point where the ship has left and these cards are not going to be affordable soon.
Yeah.
I mean, already that's not an affordable card.
Yeah. So before it was like a $200 card or something before this last spike. So,
and that's not affordable.
Not affordable for most people. I mean, even I when I bought my Imperial Seal a long time ago, a lot of people would consider that not affordable, and I bought it for $90.
Yeah, and at 90, yeah, I agree. I mean, to be fair, once a card hits like $30, I mean, I'm not saying I can afford all $30 cards. Once a card starts to hit like more than $20 to $30, I'm like, I can't just go to the store and buy 6 cards when they're all that price.
Right. And you gotta weigh your benefits of, we literally built decks on $25 budgets before.
And they're very fun to play and can absolutely win.
So do I want to buy one card for one deck, or do I want to build an entire new deck?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just looking at some of these prices, and I don't check them every day, but I went on to, MTG Goldfish just because it's easy and you can see just price trends there at least. Sometimes they're inflated just because someone listed one copy of a card at like $7,000 and then that happens a lot with like the tokens from those intro decks where it's like the M20 intro deck, Cauldron Familiar, or I don't know what card, I'm just pulling a card out, but it'll be like, this card is $9. And it's like, Well, yeah, because that's the only version that was printed in that, I guess.
It looks exactly the same except for the set symbol, and even sometimes the set symbol is exactly
Pretty
the
sure
same.
the set symbol is the same. I don't know how you know the difference, to be honest, but you see them listed. So I don't know what I look at the prices. I went and I looked at the prices of some of my decks recently, and they're just shooting up because I do have cards that have some older,
For sure,
some really old reserve list cards on them, and just the fear of missing out is a real thing. And I just want to say, don't, some people were tweeting the other day about those Ice Fang Coatls because we saw snow coming back. They're like, do I buy them? Do I not? And I was like, if you're going to use it, I guess, but everybody else is buying into it right now. And is that deck actually really good? Like, I don't know.
it's okay. Even okay, not saying Kaldheim's not even part of anything. What is it? It's 3-color snow in modern. It's okay. It's a control deck that likes to play Ice Fang Coatl.
But is it just popular right now? And so I think that was the point, was maybe figure out if it, and our Discord had that discussion of a fear of missing out just in the last couple of weeks. And it's don't just buy into the hype.
No.
Because sometimes you get got.
Right.
And I don't want anyone to get got.
Right. Now, that being said, if you want to buy my Wheel of Fortune for $1,000, sold.
I don't. I have one now. What'd you do over this past week, Coyle?
I'm back at work, so I've been working. I was working with a couple of my friends who are into Pokemon stuff, and helped them record a couple videos for an upcoming channel that they're going to try to do. Just some Pokemon pack openings and stuff. I'll let them borrow my setup that we use on Thursdays for stream.
Nice.
Looks really good when you just do a recording versus streaming. The stream quality is not as good as the recording quality, so I was hesitant, but now I'm pretty impressed after seeing the recording value. So we did that this last weekend, Saturday morning, I think it was. So yeah, that should be cool for them. Glad to help out where I can.
Anything magic wise?
I can't think of anything magic wise that I've done. I haven't brewed anything new. I'm trying not to brew new decks every single time a new legendary gets revealed from Kaldheim, but it's really hard.
Yeah, because you built how many Commander Legends decks? Like 15 brews. You had so many going on.
There was a lot. And I've already built like 2 from Kaldheim, and I have a couple more that I would like to build, but again, I'm trying not to. I know that some of our someone on Twitter at one point, I think you pointed it out to me, was talking about how, I hate it, or not I hate it. I prefer if people talked about including cards in the 99, and it kind of made me, rather than just as commanders, and it kind of made me had to rethink, and it's like, you know what? I need to go back and revisit some of these decks I haven't touched in a while, because I think Kaldheim is going to be adding a lot of value to them.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, if you want to come chat with us about what we're building, you can support us in our Discord. And if you would like to also support us in any other way, you can head to patreon.com/guardianprojectpod and donate for any dollar amount. We would be happy to have you join that discussion.
Yeah, another really easy way to support the podcast, whatever you're listening to the podcast now on, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, iPodcasts, iTunes.
iPodcasts. It's definitely not iPodcasts.
If you're listening to this on iPodcasts, let me know. No, drop a like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're always looking for comments on how we can make the podcast better for you, our listeners. So,
or how we can make it worse. I mean, I guess
you could tell us how to make it worse so we can do the exact opposite.
They would ask us to just stop.
Just stop talking. But there's going to be 2 comments right in a row. One of them's like, I think it would be better if you stop talking. The one's that I think it'd be worse if you stop talking. I'm like, well, I guess we're just going to keep talking the same amount.
Coyle, what are we talking about this week, though? What are we going to actually continue talking about?
We're gonna talk about Kaldheim. We talked about Kaldheim a little bit last week. We didn't go too well. We talked about Kaldheim the entire
mostly
episode,
lore, yeah.
But we didn't really go into cards that much. So this week we're going to talk about some cards that we're going to be including in decks, maybe cards that we're going to be building decks around, fun cards, special cards. We're going to talk about Kaldheim cards.
Kaldheim cards. All right. Well, let's go. There's snow time better than now.
Ooh.
So this set has over 30 new legendary creatures, just like all the sets that we've seen recently, there's like a lot of legendary creatures. So I would assume that this is probably the new norm, that we're going to get this many legendary creatures in every set. So I know we were talking about last year was the year of Commander. It still feels like it. Well, I don't think we've left.
I guess they made this set like 2 years ago, right?
Right, but I think I would bet I would bet that every set that comes out this year has 25 plus.
I mean, yeah, Wizards of the Coast said that they are trying to
cater to Commander.
They're catering to Commander, even in the standard sets, not just the supplemental sets from now on. So definitely, I mean, even beyond the legendary creatures, there's definitely some cards in here where it's like, well, that's never going to see standard play. That costs 8 mana. But in Commander, it's like 8 mana. There's the same card costs 12 mana. Now I can cast it for 8 mana. This is great.
Yeah, so we got to see lots of new legendary creatures. So we are going to talk about the cards that we are personally excited to play with. We got lots of comments last time that we did this, that people like us to talk about the cards we are actually going to play with and not necessarily just the popular cards. So although many of these may be rares and mythics, we do have some that aren't, and specifically ones that go into our decks and not necessarily all decks. So I want to start out with the card that got a lot of attention this past week. Lots of attention online, so much discussion, and that is Mystic Reflection. So this is an instant for 1 and a blue. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enters the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. You can also cast this for its foretell cost for a single blue. So this card, for Commander at least, most folks are talking about this with the Avenger of Zendikar, just being really cool because you cast it, the Avenger of Zendikar trigger goes on the stack. In response, you cast Mystic Reflection, and then instead of making, let's say you have 6 lands, instead of making 6 plants, you're going to make 6 Avenger of Zendikars, and then you make 6 times 6 plants.
Right.
So the math there for Avenger of Zendikar is pretty easy, and then play a land, and then you're going to go crazy with those counters. But there was some discussion specifically with other cards like Master of Waves, which is really, really, it's a very good card. It's played in Modern Merfolk. So Master of Waves specifically is a 2/1 pro red because it needed it. That's cool. Sure. I like it. Elemental creatures you control get +1/+1. And then when it enters, you make a 1/0 blue elemental creature token. The art looks like a horse. I always think that you're making horse, but you're not. You're making elementals. They're like that horse in the wave. Oh, I really like that token a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And they're 0/1. They're 1/0s, equal to your devotion to blue. So there was an entire graph made where if you have 1 blue pip on the battlefield now, and then you play Master of Waves and you cast the Mystic Reflection with no blue pips, and Master of Waves was the only blue pip, you're going to get 10 power on the board. Nice. And then with 1 blue pip prior, you get 38 power. Then 98, 202, 364, 590. If you have 6 blue pips, when you do this, you're going to get 898 power on the board.
Interesting.
If you have 7 power, you're getting almost 1300 power on the board. So that devotion is not difficult to hit in Commander. It is blue, so it's not like you're getting like mono green devotion where you're going to have a ton.
Sure.
But like, this seems fun. Now, Master of Waves doesn't necessarily see, in my opinion, as much play in Commander as an Avenger of Zendikar does.
For sure.
But even without creatures that are making a bunch of tokens, just things that are getting you extra value, being able to just saying, I don't need this thing in my hand, but if it enters as a copy of a Gray Merchant, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. It is a 2 mana instant, so you can stick it under an Isochron Scepter if you want.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because everyone is talking about, everyone's talking about this card in an I'm going to say offensive manner, but what I mean by that is like offense versus defense. So like to make power, to help your board out.
Yeah.
But even with Master of the Pearl Trident as a good example, or I don't know, the example that I had was a germ token. If someone casts Living Death or something, and they're going to return all their creatures from their graveyard to the battlefield, and you cast this on a germ token, they all enter as 0/0s and then just die immediately.
Interesting.
Cool. Or Master of the Pearl Trident now has, if you cast it first and then draw Mystic Reflection, you can target one of your 1/0s and have someone else's Planeswalker or their commander come in with 0 toughness and then die because of state-based effects.
You're talking Master of Waves. Master of the Pearl
Master-
Trident
sorry,
is the.
yes.
No, I was like, wait, when did the Pearl Trident come into play?
I don't know, merfolk.
He gives the island walk. But yeah, you absolutely could have it come in as, this enters as a 2/1 though.
Well, because it gets buffed.
No, it's a 2/1 itself. It gives the elementals it creates a buff.
Right. So you target the elementals that it creates because it has
absolutely.
0 toughness.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you had those elementals and someone went to cast something,
Mm-hmm.
It says the next time it doesn't specifically say enters the battlefield under your control. It just enters the battlefield.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice to have it in a deck that, like a wizard deck that's like playing 1/1 wizards that might not. I mean, they might have a cool enter the battlefield ability, but maybe it's something that could hurt someone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like negatively. When this enters, you have to return something to your. I don't know. There's creatures that have those drawbacks with ETBs.
For sure. And I mean,
that would be an interesting way to play that.
If you can somehow get rid of the legend rule, and then there's a phage on the battlefield so that you can target the phage with Mystic Reflection.
Well, it's non-legendary.
As I say, if you can remove the legendary rule.
Oh, if you remove the legendary rule.
Sakashima of 1,000 Faces. Or something.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple cards.
I mean, to be fair, this would be a really fun card. Okay, we should do this. We should do like Mystic Reflection bingo. And everybody submits all their things that they want to do. And what we should do is we should put it into a thing. People can print out bingo cards, and then on our stream we should have everybody play a deck with Mystic Reflection or something, and people can play bingo while we're playing. I've thought about doing digressing here.
Sure.
I thought about making bingo cards for my commanders and allowing people to play them. Like when I play Noyandar, does he animate his Inkmoth Nexus and take someone out? Does he put 9 +1/+1 counters on a creature in a single turn, casting View from Above more than 6 times in the game, and then having people play it? And if they can complete the bingo card when I played it, I'll send them a prize. That seems really fun.
That
we
does
should
seem fun.
we should totally do this.
Yes.
All right, we need to think more about playing bingo. If you have any suggestions on how to make bingo Magic the Gathering Commander happen, and you want us to do that, send us a comment or tweet at us. All right, back to this. So Mystic Reflection, the only downside to Mystic Reflection is it usually, if you're going to take advantage, you need something to be useful out already, but using it in a defensive way or making it so somebody else's creature enters and isn't that great is pretty good. It doesn't necessarily feel like a dead card.
No.
It feels okay. As long as there's a creature that's not necessarily powerful already out.
Right. I mean, and use it as a shapeshifter just to turn you're playing elves and you cast a Llanowar elves. I don't know why elves is playing blue in this instance, but they are. You cast a Llanowar elves and someone else has a Praetor on their side. Oh no, you can't target legendary. There's good things. Promised. Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah, but when that Craterhoof enters, I want to enter as one of my 1/1 human tokens.
There you go.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
For me, yes.
All right, so the next card we have on the list is one of our new legendary creatures that is also an equipment on the other side, and this is Toralf, God of Fury. So Toralf is a 4 CMC legendary creature god, 5/4 with trample. It says whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess non-combat damage, Toralf deals damage equal to the excess to any target other than that permanent. The hammer side is a 2-mana, 1 in a red legendary artifact equipment called Toralf's Hammer. It says equipped creature has pay 1 in a red, tap it, unattach Toralf's Hammer. It deals 3 damage to any target. Return Toralf's Hammer to its owner's hand. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 as long as it's legendary, and an equip cost of 1 and a red. So the reason I like this card so much is not so much for the equipment hammer side, although being able to throw your hammer at somebody's face and then it returns to your hand is pretty cool. I really like the side where it's doing excess damage based on non-combat damage. So I think this is, originally when I did look at this card, I did look at it as a commander. I think it is going to be a very popular mono red commander. It's very well costed for a 5/4 trample just at its base, plus the extra abilities that you get. It's not that easy to remove because of its 4 toughness. It's going to be, you're going to be able to get in with some commander damage and stuff. But I also really like it in the 99 for decks like Torbran, Firesong and Sunspeaker. If you have a Kazarov Sengir Pureblood deck like I used to, this card would be really, really good in it.
You know, when I thought of this card, I don't know why the first thing that I thought of was the card Pestilent Spirit from Ravnica Allegiance, but it says instant sorceries you control have Death Touch. Because if you have that in your Kazarov Sengir, whatever deck you just said, the big old vampire thing,
yeah.
your instants and sorceries have Death Touch. They only have to deal 1 and everything else tramples over.
Oh yeah.
I like giving trample to these spells.
Now, it is also Toralf that's dealing the damage. So if you give an equipment to Toralf that gives it lifelink or something, then you'll be able to gain a bunch of life. Or if you give it infect and it's doing damage to your opponents, and you put infect counters on them. There's a lot of different ways that you could build this. I think it will do more when you can use more than just red. I think it still will be very popular in red, but I think in the 99, it can definitely be a win condition on its own, as long as you're playing that style of do damage to every creature on the battlefield at once. So you play your Age of Extinction, so you do 20 damage to every creature on the battlefield. Your Blasphemous Act do 13 damage to every creature on the battlefield, and you just go to town.
So you're going to play Grafted Exoskeleton because it puts minus counters on the creatures and then poison counters on players?
Sure.
Slimefoot did the same.
I guess if you hit something with, because Toralf isn't going to be doing damage to creatures in this instance. So yes. Answer is yes.
Okay. This probably isn't the only time we're going to talk about poison tonight.
Yeah, you're right. It's not. Spoiler. But that's, I guess that's, I know you, I know you have a Torbrand deck.
Yeah, I already said I'm probably, this is gonna, it slots in really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
I also just like the hammer.
The hammer is cool. I just think it just costs so much mana to keep putting it out, equipping it, using it, putting it out, equipping it, using it. That's my only thing.
It's a lightning bolt unattached. It reminds me of
Sunforger?
Yeah, Sunforger. Just like that kind of ability to equip, unequip. That seems really fun in Togo and Arden. So
for sure. No,
let me
true.
quickly move it on, and then I'm gonna unattach it. However, it does have the tap requirement, so there is that. But Togo's not swinging. So when we played it on stream, we all saw Togo. I think did swing once because there was nothing else to do. No one's gonna block. But yeah, Toralf seems really, really fun, and I would like to. I plan on at least putting it in my mono red deck.
Yep.
Let's talk about another god.
Let's do it.
Let's go into blue. Cosima, god of the voyage, and the flip side is the Omen Kneel. So Cosima is a legendary creature god, a 2/4 for 2 and a blue that says at the beginning of your upkeep you may exile Cosima. If you do, it gains whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. If Cosima is exiled, you may put a voyage counter on it. If you don't, return Cosima to the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it to draw, you draw X cards where X is the number of voyage counters that were on it. So that's, card advantage in blue is not something that we've not seen. It's
crazy.
We get it a lot.
Blue card draw? No way. And then the Omen Kneel, I know that we had talked last week. I said I really hope we get a legendary vehicle. We got a legendary vehicle here. So it's a 3/3 for 1 and a blue that says whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of their library. You may play lands from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled. So that seems cool.
Yeah, it has crew 1. So crewing it is not that difficult. Playing this on 2, playing weird creatures that, in blue, I was not expecting to play vehicles in mono blue. But I absolutely would do that for a commander deck. I think it would probably throw me immediately into a more casual category unless I was playing like counter spells and stuff, but I don't think that fits really for the deck. I'd want to play it for fun and just all the vehicles. I've seen a lot of people, and we had chatted about it before. Archeolos is really good, obviously, for vehicles because you've got Sultai color, so you've already got blue, but you're adding black and green and having it tapped and reducing and slowing your opponents down. But this just seems like a lot of fun, swinging with a bunch of vehicles.
It's just, but like you said about how vehicles, you never predicted vehicles would be in blue.
No.
And the other side is about landfall, which is also not typically a blue thing.
Yeah, so putting this as the commander, not sure, not sold. Not against it.
No, not against it.
This seems really fun. And when we were chatting, you had mentioned King Makar is really fun in mono black for vehicles. And then Archeolos is in Sultai. Obviously, we have Depala and Boros. So we've seen all the colors that you can do stuff.
Yeah, technically SRAM. I haven't seen a SRAM vehicle deck, but you do get to draw cards when you cast vehicles with SRAM. Technically.
You do. Yeah.
I just never see it in anything other than an aura and equipment deck.
Yeah, and I think, but I do think that a lot of people haven't circled back to a lot. Like you mentioned beforehand, you said I need to circle back and add cards to decks.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's a lot of decks that we have taken apart since that if we were to rebuild them, they'd be probably built completely different. Like Zedru, you had a SRAM deck at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, this was before we even started the podcast. And I don't know if I would build Zedru the exact same way this time. There's so many new things to donate since I had that deck like 4 years ago. So,
yeah,
I don't know, but playing vehicles, I want to try it in mono blue.
Yeah,
I have all none of them are crazy expensive, and I played a lot of Kaladesh and Aether Revolt and stuff. So I mean, I have a lot of the original vehicles, and then from Ixalan block as well.
Now, one question that was brought up already: does Cosima make Silent Submersible a playable card?
I do. That was brought up, I think, on our stream last week, and I think the consensus was no, but we're gonna put it in anyway.
It's a blue vehicle. You got to put it in.
You got to put it in. But the Cosima side of when you play a land, you can put the voyage counter on it, so she's just out at, or the god is just out at sea for longer. It seems if you can play Cosima on 2. Let's say you did 1 in a Soul Ring, you play it and you exile it immediately. And then let's say you let 3 or 4 turns go by because you're playing blue. You probably don't care about having a creature that early on. And then you decide I'm going to play a land. Maybe it's my 5th land on turn 4, or 5. I don't know why I would say 4. I don't know what you're ramping with in a mono blue deck. It's possible. It's entirely possible. We've got lands, Walking Atlas, things like that can happen. And you decide to bring it back with 4 counters you draw 4. I'm here for that.
Yeah. Plus you get a 6/8 because it's with +1/+1 counters on it too. So it's not a weak creature to have. And then you can exile it again.
Start out by building up, drawing some cards, then let Cosima either, I guess, can swing in and take some stuff down, or you turn it into the ship and then you crew all your other vehicles because it says whenever a vehicle. It doesn't matter whether it's this ship or not.
Right.
So, yeah, I would like to try out mono blue vehicles.
Mono blue vehicles incoming. Okay, next card that I'd like to talk about. A lot of people would think is boring, and I was giddier than a giddy schoolgirl. Giddier than a giddy, not just a schoolgirl, a giddy schoolgirl about this card. It's a common, it's black, and it's called Elder Fang Disciple. So 2 CMC, 1 in a black. You get a 1/1 elf cleric that says when Elder Fang Disciple enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Gotta love it.
Do you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It goes in She-Ray.
It does fit in your discard She-Ray version.
Yeah. So the really nice parts about these, if you are a fan of discard She-Ray, there are a lot of those creatures that will say target opponent. This one says each opponent. So that's very important for cards like this. It's only 2 CMC, which is really, really good for the mana curve of that deck. This does mark the 11th creature that fits the She-Ray criteria of 1 power or less that has either an ETB or a death effect that makes at least 1 opponent discard a card.
You should do a full write-up and put it on Twitter or something. People would be here. Your set review is just She-Ray set review.
She-Ray set review.
Every single set that comes out, you do a full summary.
It would be cool.
Fortunately, Coil does not run that She-Ray discard deck against us. You have a different She-Ray value deck that you play against us instead, which I appreciate significantly more.
I do run, I think, like 2.
I mean, you have some of them.
Yeah, and this is one that would go in because like Yarik's Fenlurker is one of them because it makes each opponent exile a card from their hand. Black Cat is fun because it's a random card, so no one gets to pick what card that they discard. Love me a little bit of chaos. So this one might go in to the regular She-Ray 99.
It just goes in.
Well, I'd take a swamp out, of course.
And how many are we down now?
I think it's a 28 land deck now.
But the CMC is so low.
Yeah, just like these
She-Ray.
Except for She-Ray, but that's why we get the Cabal coffers, we get the Cryptghast out there. Yeah, there's a lot of mana
because of
doublers.
Shirei, I did start running cards like Ghost Quarter. So
Yep.
fortunately for me, I feel like I've got at least an answer in all of my decks now to deal with that. Because I think once I get rid of that and Shirei once or twice,
And I can't cast Shirei again.
then we feel okay.
Then I'm like, I just hope I top deck Gray Merchant eventually.
Well, instead of discarding, I would like to maybe cast something at instant speed or with flash, perhaps.
Okay.
The next card I want to talk about is Glorious Protector. 2 white for a 3/4 angel cleric. It has flash and says flash and flying. And whenever Glorious Protector enters the battlefield, you may exile any number of non-angel creatures you control until Glorious Protector leaves the battlefield. It also has Foretell for 2 and a white. I like this card a lot. This is anti-board wipe. And I think this is actually one that might see some play. There's a significant amount of board wipe in Commander. Flash speed's not bad. I haven't looked into it anymore. I feel like this deck that can use this stuff is like the Blinky Brago shenanigans deck that does things. You've got probably a Revel Arc and some sort of a combo in here. There's something here, but I just like this card.
Yeah, super good. And not just board wipe protection, but it could also be like board wipe tricks where you could, cast Wrath of God with Wrath of God on the stack, flash this in, exile your board away, Wrath of God resolves, kills the angel, your board comes back. It's like overloading your Wrath of God.
Yeah,
almost.
For 8 mana, I would take that.
Sure.
Yeah, but with the number of times that I've had a Blasphemous Act, something just wipe my board, or a Living Death, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna flash this in, exile all my creatures, Living Death this away, bring back all my creatures from the graveyard and the ones in exile. I actually got double the board, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Seems fun. I would like to try this out.
If you're playing an equipment deck and this happens against you and you can somehow instant speed equip something to give the angel indestructible and then shroud.
That's absolutely possible with there's a Leonin Shikari, I believe is the card. You can use equipment at instant speed. You just move them around at instant speed.
So someone's trying to do a trick with their angel. It's like, well, I guess you have an indestructible angel for the rest of the game.
I guess it just needs to go on the bingo card of the deck that's doing this. That's going on the bingo card.
But yeah, any creature based deck. Probably not Angel Tribal. Sorry.
Probably not Angel Tribal.
But yeah, any creature-based deck that's running white, I don't see why you don't include this.
It's a 3/4. I mean,
it's like another Eerie Interlude.
It's like Eerie Interlude.
Yeah,
I like it.
Very cool. All right, next card that we're talking about is another common, and it's also black. And it is another card that I picked. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so this card is called Jarl of the Forsaken. It's 3 and a black. You get a zombie cleric with a 3/2 body. It has flash. And says when Jarl of the Forsaken enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls that was dealt damage this turn. And it has Foretell for 1 and a black. So this is kind of unique in that its Foretell cost is actually equal to its casting cost. So you can choose to keep it in your hand. You can choose to put it into Foretell depending on if you have any shenanigans where it's like if you cast a card from your hand versus cast a card from exile or whatnot. But I think this card is going to be overlooked for zombie decks. I think this is almost an auto include in zombie decks because it's removal on a body. It is recurable as well. You can bring it back to your hand. You can bring it back to the battlefield. It is an enter the battlefield effect. And a 3/2 body is pretty good. I mean, Tormod's a 3/2 body. Obviously, it can create more 2/2 bodies, but a 3/2 is not going to stay a 3/2 in a zombie deck. It's going to end up being a 6/5 or something with all the lords that you have in there. And on top of it, you can use this card kind of as a political tool where it's like, oh yeah, swing at Estrid because everyone wants Estrid dead. It's like, oh, I can only do 1 damage. I can't kill Estrid. Don't worry about it. I got you. Flashing my zombie, Estrid's dead.
That's a thing that you can do.
So I really like this for zombie decks. It's in black, so it'll be included in every single zombie deck. I can't think of a zombie deck that does not include black. I'm sure there is a blue-white zombie deck out there. I don't know about it.
There could be. It would be the
mummy
Noctamon
one. to make a token unblockable.
Something of Noctiman.
That's right.
Oh, what? And it costs 2. I can picture it. I can literally picture the card.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm sure there's definitely some of those.
So you're not going to be able to include the Jarl of the Forsaken for that one.
Not in that one.
But you should definitely consider including this card in your zombie deck.
So I'm talking about another god here.
Mm-hmm.
Birgi, god of tales.
Birgi-licious stuff.
Birgi-licious. I did not see that coming. And the other side is Harnfell, Horn of Abundance. So Birgi is a can we just call it Fergie now?
Yeah,
or should we call it Fergie?
Fergie.
Okay, so Fergie, God of Tales, is a 3/3 for 3, 2 and a red. Whenever you cast a spell, add red to your mana pool until end of turn. You do not lose this mana as steps or phases end. And then you may activate boast abilities of creatures you control twice per turn instead of once per turn. I don't know how much the boast matters here, but getting the red mana, playing cantrip into cantrip into cantrip, has a lot of potential opportunities for some storm here. You've got some viability with Aetherflex Reservoir. Not leaving as phases end is pretty cool here because you could play the is it Hellkite Tyrant?
Mm-hmm.
No, is it Hellkite Tyrant? No,
What
the
are
new
you
one
looking
that makes
for?
it so that the
Leyline Tyrant?
Leyline Tyrant, is it the one where the red mana does not leave as, it just seems really interesting because then this makes it so they don't leave, and then that one also keeps it, so you're adding to your mana pool. I haven't seen any. I mean, you can net mana with some of the red cards, obviously,
for sure.
with some of these here. So I really think this is an interesting card. I'm not sure. I have not looked much up, but I've seen a lot of discussion online about this. But also, personally, I like the horn side more. So it is 4 and a red for a legendary artifact that says discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. So you are getting card advantage by discarding just a card.
Mm-hmm.
And red has access to flashback. There's a lot of stuff you can do from your graveyard in that color. So discarding a card, you're like, I don't need this Faithless Looting this turn. I'm actually going to exile 2 other cards instead. This just seems really fun. I'm not sure where to go with it yet. I'm not sure if Coil, you have looked into much of this card yet, but this does seem like a ton of fun and one that I would like to try out in a deck, not necessarily as the commander, but in a deck, for that card advantage on that horn.
Yeah, I haven't looked at this card much, and so I'm kind of here. It's a hot take. First reactions. That's discard a card : exile. So you can do this
Correct.
as many times as you want on
Correct.
your turn. That's ridiculous.
It's very good.
So I could have a hand of 7, but then it's like, oh, I'm just going to discard all 7 of these, and now my hand is 14 cards for this turn. Which, yeah. So there's a card they printed in Modern Horizons called Tectonic Reformation. It's an enchantment for 1 and a red that says each land in your hand has cycling for a red. This is better than that. You can discard a land and get 2 rather than just draw a card.
This is discard a card.
Yeah, discard a card. Yeah, you're going to be discarding your lands. You're in red.
You can, but
you cast everything
it does
else.
cost 5. I mean, it does cost
True.
5 to get it out, but
True.
I think that this card is great.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens with this. But I like red card advantage. And having that, even the drawback here is you can only use it till end of turn, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, you need it in red. You
Yeah.
absolutely need it in red.
Yeah.
All right. Next card. I'm super excited about this card. Andy, you and I talked very briefly about it, but I am really, really, really excited for this card. So this is another Gruul card. I only have one Gruul commander right now. Gruul commander number 2 incoming. So this is Svella Ice Shaper. This is an uncommon card in the set. It's a legendary snow creature troll warrior. For 1, a red and a green, you get a 2/4 that has 2 different activated abilities. You can pay 3 generic and tap it to create a colorless snow artifact token named Icy Manolith that has tap it, add 1 mana of any color. Or you can pay 6, a red and a green, and tap it to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost. You put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So it creates mana ramp on your commander, and then free spell. You have an Aetherworks Marvel activation as the second activation on here, or Golos Tireless Pilgrim, except you can't cast all of them. But I just think this card is ridiculously good. It's Gruul, whatever you want. whatever you want to build in Gruul, this can be your commander. You get free spells, you get free ramp. Well, not free ramp. You pay for your ramp. And holy crap, Nyx Bloom Ancient? Come on.
Explanation.
3 mana to make an artifact that taps for 3 mana. And then you have some sort of untap ability for Tzfela, and now you have infinite of these snow manoliths, icy manoliths. I love it. I love this card so much. What are your thoughts?
You said this is your next Gruul commander.
This is going to be my next Gruul commander for sure.
I'm curious to see how many of this gets built. So it specifically is a snow creature,
Yes.
which is the one thing we had talked about, is that we think that there's got to be some snow commanders that care about snow stuff, and this one makes a snow artifact.
That's right.
And it's a snow creature. I think it's very fun. I think a lot of people are going to play it. I looking at it, it looks very expensive. It looks like you have to tap, and usually having to tap sometimes is a drawback.
Mm-hmm.
But I am curious to see what this can do, because this is we've only seen this for a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we haven't known about this for forever. So I'm curious to see when something is found and someone's like, but you can do X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh, there's that, because there's ways to untap your commanders.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. I wonder how many snow artifacts someone's going to make. That's a lot of mana.
Yeah, and if you have like token doublers or anything, which you do have in green,
right?
Yeah, it's. I am not going to build it, so it is very important that you get to cast the card. I will not be building this Eldrazi. You will see this built as Eldrazi for sure, because all Gruul ramp into Eldrazi is how it probably will end up being built. It's not how I'm going to build it. I don't know how I'm going to build it yet, but I'm going to build it, and it won't have Eldrazi.
Okay.
I probably
won't.
Probably won't have Eldrazi. Maybe like one. We'll see.
Now you had told me you had a real hot take on this one.
I think this is. I think
we have 2 hot takes in this episode. Mine is on the next card that we're going to talk about.
So currently, the top built Gruul commander, according to EDHREC, is Omnath Locus of Rage. Has been around since it's
Battle for Zendikar.
Battle for Zendikar. That is still the most popular Gruul commander according to EDHREC. Tzfela Ice Shaper will be the new most popular Gruul commander on EDHREC.
That's a hot take you heard here.
That's a hot take.
Oh, I don't know.
It just does. So if you look at like the most popular commanders just outside of Gruul in any color, they typically are commanders that can fit a lot of different play styles and stuff.
Okay.
So like you have like your Kenrith the Returned King, who could be literally anything. Golos Tireless Pilgrim, literally anything.
Okay.
After that, you start getting to like the popular commanders from like C15 and stuff, and that's just because of the popularity that they had in C15. Well, even Atraxa proliferate. You could build it in so many different ways. So I think Tzfela is going to be another one of those instances where it's like, you just cast any spell that you want in the top 4 and you make mana. That's all you're doing. You make mana and cast spells. Doesn't have to be snow spells. They don't have to be troll warriors. Just any spells. That's why I think it's going to be the most popular.
All right. Well, we'll see. Right now, listed on EDHREC, there's Omnath at 1,516. So I guess 1,516. That's how many decks there are. And then number 2, Xenagos, God of Revels at 14, just over 14, and then Ruark Thar at around 1,200. So we'll see if this hits 15, 17.
Number 1, baby.
It's gonna hit 15, 17.
You know how many decks I'm gonna build just to try to pump those numbers up?
Coil's going to make 1,700 accounts.
Yeah, on Archidekt.
On Archidekt and Moxfield and Bruits.
Tzfela 1, Tzfela 2, Tzfela 3.
No, if it's just a different account.
Oh yeah, no, that's what the account names are gonna be.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's funny. All right, so my last card before we get to our cycles is Finn the Fangbearer. So this is a 1/3 legendary human warrior for 1 and a green with Death Touch, and when a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters.
Mm-hmm.
So poison counters, it doesn't say they have infect, but when creatures with damage with infect deal damage to an opponent, they get poison counters through infect. My opinion is this is going to be one of the most popular green commanders. People already complain about infect, and there's almost none. Just wait.
Yeah.
I expect to see a lot of this with a lot of random death touch things like the Orin Frostfang.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I expect to see that with Myriad. Okay. Poison, and they get 2 poison counters.
Right.
It's not even just 1. It's not equal to the damage that they deal, but they get 2 poison counters. You only need to get to 10.
Right. Well, and you get to, and even if someone has something like for some reason, if someone has a solemnity out or whatever, it still deals the damage. It doesn't put counters on instead of dealing the damage.
Right.
It's in addition to.
And you've got green. It's got proliferate. I expect to see this a lot. I expect this to be one of the more, in my opinion, I think this is going to be one of the more popular commanders from Kaldheim.
Okay.
Of these. I would assume it's definitely in the top 5, but I would think that the low CMC of this, just being a 1/3, it'd be cast early. You can give it haste. You're dealing two poison counters. You don't even have to do Voltron damage. You only have to hit 10 times.
Well, 5 times.
Or that's what I meant, 5 times. You don't have to hit 5 times. But you could just build it Voltron as well. Just as a backup.
Sure.
Maybe my power is 15. I'll just hit you with that. But if not, I'm just going to proliferate and get you to 10.
Right.
I expect this to be very popular.
Yeah, commanders with Death Touch are very often overlooked for Voltron styles. You give them trample, and all that Voltron goes over. 1 damage to the creature that's blocking it, and all the rest tramples over. So,
right. So I think of this as. So the only reason I am not thinking about building this is because I run Lizalve the Multifarious as an Infect deck.
Okay.
So it's my only deck that really uses Infect. I used to have it in my Slimefoot deck because Triumph of the Hordes, and I used to have it in my Hepatra deck because of Triumph of the Hordes. I don't run Skithiryx.
Right.
And, and right now, that is the only legendary creature other than this that actually has Infect printed on it.
That's true.
And the only commander, there's 3 legendary creatures that have the word poison on it, but one of them is Hepatra Vizier Poison.
Right.
So that one doesn't actually count.
Right.
So you've got Finn and you've got Skithiryx, and Finn is green, and it's an uncommon. It's going to be really affordable compared to Skithiryx, which was reprinted. And green ramps, and green can just say, well, I'm going to either deal it with the poison counters, or maybe I'll just play big green things.
Yeah.
Like anything big and green.
Yeah, literally any big green thing. I mean, you could shove the new Vorinclex in here, since your opponents would get double the counters on their faces too.
Right. I expect this to be like, I expect to see this in our play group. Someone's going to build this. And I'm going to be really sad losing to poison very often.
I will say, if you did not have you mentioned it before, how it goes well in Hepatra, I think this is like really, really good win condition in Hepatra.
Yeah, because those snakes have death touch.
All the snakes have death touch.
All of the snakes have death touch.
Yeah. Does Pyreka's snakes have death touch? Oh, she gives them to other people though, doesn't she?
Yeah. I mean, you can play Archetype of Finality. Creatures your opponents control lose death touch, and all of yours gain death touch.
There you go.
You don't even. Oh wait, no, that's black in Hepatra.
Hepatra,
that's why I looked at that, because you were just saying in Hepatra you could do that. And I absolutely think that I personally would maybe even put back Hepatra to add this into play to low. I mean, I have a box called Commander Shells, which is all the commander, like the basic shell of the deck that I had built, where I took out the lands and I took out maybe the expensive cards that I move between decks because I can't afford to buy 6 of said card.
Right.
But I would put that back together to play this. It's fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be really cool, and I'm gonna cry every time I die to Infect. Okay, so do you want to go into the uncommon land cycles right away?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So we've got a bunch of uncommon lands here. Each of them enter tapped, but they've got an ability that you can tap it. You can pay some mana, tap it, sack it, and do something. We've got Axguard Armory, which allows you to tutor for an aura or an equipment. I'm really excited about that. I think the one that I personally am most excited about is Litjara Mirror Lake. So you can pay 2 green, blue, tap, sack it, and you create a token that's a copy of a creature you control, but it enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. That one is really fun. I personally am going to play some of these cards to try them out. The fact that they enter tapped is
it's a drawback.
It's a drawback, but and obviously we couldn't talk about these in our episode with enters untapped.
You can't. That's why we have to talk about them now.
We have to talk about them now.
I'll never talk about them again.
Don't even speak of them. We're not even going to look at them. Don't you even think about talking about this card. No, I'm really excited for this cycle, and I will be playing with a few of these for sure.
Yeah, same. I personally, I really like the port of Carfell, which is the Dimir. It only taps for blue, but it's the Dimir one that can return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. You get to mill 4 on top of it too, just to have reanimation on a card. I know we had discussed it a little bit before, and it was Emiria, the land Emiria.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Emiria the Sky Rune.
Yeah, is the only other card, land card, that can actually bring creatures back from your graveyard, and that's in white, and
requires you have, I believe, 7. Yeah, so at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Right. And Port of Carfell, I mean, you do need to pay 6 mana, tap it, and sacrifice it, but if you're playing this in a Muldrotha deck or something,
or Arami,
yeah,
or any zombie deck that you're, I mean, this is gonna fit so many blue-black decks.
Ton of them. Hopefully these other cards see fits in the other 2-color decks or 3-color decks. If you're playing a 5-color deck, maybe it'll be fun to just play all of them. I don't know. I
mean, the Gruul one destroys a land and then makes a Troll Warrior with Trample.
Yeah.
You need to take out Coil's
you don't need
Cabal
to do that.
Coffers.
Don't play that card.
Run.
No, I just
not
decided.
Vold Slumber Mound.
No, don't play the card anymore.
That is a mouthful of a name. Not Vold Slumber Mound. I do like these though. Bredegard Stronghold.
Mm-hmm.
Isterstrom Sturm? No,
Immerstrom. Skull Cairn.
No, it's Immersturm.
It's
the U's before the
Skull
R. Immersturm.
Skur Cairn.
Ermagerd Skull Cairn. Yeah, I'm excited. These are really fun. I like seeing uncommon lands that have activated abilities. These I'm always here for those cards.
Yeah, definitely. So the other cycle that we're going to see, and we've only seen one card so far of the cycle, so we assume that we're going to see the rest of the cycle, is the rune cycle. So these are a new type of aura, so an aura rune that can enchant any permanent. So the one that they've seen so far is the Rune of Flight. So for 1 and a blue, you can enchant permanent. When Rune of Flight enters the battlefield, draw a card. As long as the enchanted permanent is a creature, it has flying. And if the enchanted permanent is an equipment, it has equipped creature has flying. So I thought this was very unique that you could actually like Voltron your equipments in your Voltron deck. And it does, some people think the Voltron strategy is very weak because all you have to do is make someone sacrifice their creature or destroy target creature. And I know there's some equipments that'll give indestructible, but being able to put auras on your indestructible equipments now to pump them up, and those are much more difficult to destroy. Now, well, they're indestructible, much more difficult to remove, can make it so that you can have, really unique equipments for your Voltron decks and stuff like that. So hopefully we get to see the rest of the cycle. Hopefully there's at least one for each color would be nice. Kind of reminds me of the cartouches from Amonkhet, but these can go on your equipments.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. So that is it for this week. If you want to contact us, you can find our podcast online at theguardianprojectpodcast.com. You can find our social media on Twitter at GuardianPod and our gameplay videos on YouTube at youtube.com/theguardianproject. And you can email us at guardianprojectpod@gmail.com. Quick note, actually, before we finish this, I will be streaming the early access event for Kaldheim on Wednesday, January 27th. So that is actually next week. So I'll be live during the day. So make sure to tune in. Again, at twitch.tv/atflory. You can find me there. And then you can find me on Twitter at atflory.
And you can find me on Twitter at wormcoilengine. And of course, we have to give a special shout out and thanks to our producer, Ryan Nichols. No ice today. And we're going to also give a shout out to our editor, shout out to Chris Wolf, who handles our graphic design for all of our videos and stuff. So if you really enjoy the pictures for our YouTube, the thumbnails, if you enjoy the layout that we have on the Twitch stream at twitch.tv/atflory, definitely reach out to Chris Wolf. He's done an amazing job.
Yeah, Outcasm Gaming on Twitter. Yeah. Have a nice week.
Bye-bye.